Why can someone love you and still leave every conversation feeling unseen? Maybe they remember your birthday. Maybe they work hard for the family. Maybe they would insist, with complete sincerity, that everything they do is for you. And yet, when you speak, you can feel them waiting, waiting to explain, waiting to defend, waiting for your pain to become a verdict on their goodness. Maya had spent the entire night preparing an apology for Lena. By 10 the next morning, she would discover that even remorse can become a mirror. Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is Wise Mind Stories. In this episode, you will learn why self-absorption is not limited to obviously arrogant people, how empathy is weakened by our need to protect our self-image, and how to make one small turn that allows another person to become real again. At 9:58, Maya arranged 2 chairs beside the window in Lumen's smallest meeting room. No desk between them, no laptop. She had read that difficult conversations should feel less formal. She had also rehearsed. I am sorry for the way I spoke to you. I was under pressure, but that does not excuse it. I care deeply about our working relationship. It was a good apology, balanced, responsible, concise. Lena arrived at 10, sat down, and listened without interrupting. When Maya finished, Lena said, "Do you want to understand what happened, or do you want me to tell you you're still a good manager?" Maya felt the old heat rise. Not as strongly this time, but enough to make the next sentence dangerous. I just took full responsibility. Lena nodded. And now you're asking me to reward you for it? There are people who dominate every room, demand attention, and treat others as instruments. We recognize them easily. We call them narcissists. But Robert Greene's law of narcissism begins somewhere more uncomfortable. Narcissism is not a rare defect that belongs to villains. It exists on a spectrum, and all of us live somewhere on it. We all need attention. We all carry a self-image, a private story about being intelligent, decent, independent, misunderstood, strong, generous, or special. That self-image helps us remain stable. Healthy self-love gives us enough security to turn outward. But when that inner foundation is fragile, attention collapses inward. Other people stop being separate worlds. They become mirrors, threats, rescuers, audiences, or sources of validation. Maya's apology was sincere. But underneath it was a request Lena had never agreed to fulfill. Please remove my guilt. Please tell me that what I did is not who I am. Please let this conversation return me to the person I prefer to see. Self-awareness can become another form of self-absorption when every discovery still ends with you. Lena looked through the glass wall at the open office. When you criticized me in front of Adrian, she said, I started reviewing the last 6 months, not just Tuesday. Every time I raised something you didn't want to hear, you called it nuance. Every time the data supported your plan, you called it evidence. Maya wanted to object. She had examples, context, entire meetings Lena had not mentioned. Then she noticed her own attention. She was not listening to Lena's experience. She was editing it. Greene describes empathy as a human instrument we already possess, but habitually blunt through self-absorption. He divides the practice into several connected capacities. First is the empathetic attitude. You begin with a radical assumption. You do not already know this person. Your first interpretation may be wrong. Curiosity is more useful than certainty. Second is visceral empathy. Before you interpret words, you notice mood, tone, pace, posture, and the sensations another person's emotion awakens in you. Third is analytic empathy. You learn the person's history, their early relationships, The pressures shaping the meaning of this moment. And finally, there is empathetic skill, which improves through contact with many kinds of people, not through theory alone. Maya looked again. Lena's voice was quiet, but her right hand held her left wrist tightly. She kept glancing toward the office, checking whether anyone could see her. This was not only anger. It was exposure. What was the worst part? Maya asked. Lena took a breath. That no one in the room was surprised. The sentence landed without raising its voice. Lena explained that at her previous company, a senior leader regularly asked her to find evidence for decisions already made. If she refused, she became difficult. If she complied, her name disappeared from the final presentation. She had joined Lumen because Maya once said research should be able to stop a launch. On Tuesday, Lena had watched that promise disappear. Maya's first impulse was to say, "I am not your former boss." But empathy is not a trial in which you prove the other person's comparison technically inaccurate. It is the temporary discipline of entering the logic of their emotional world, Maya said. So the message was bigger than the criticism. It told you that your role here is safe only when your findings are convenient. Lena's grip loosened. Yes. That one word felt different from yesterday's two-word reply. Not forgiveness. Contact. People feel loved when they no longer have to translate their pain into your language. In Greene's historical discussion of narcissism, he examines the marriage of novelist Leo Tolstoy and his wife, Sonia. Their bond contained devotion, shared labor, resentment, sacrifice, and escalating hurt. Each kept a story of suffering in which the other became the cause. Their diaries and arguments did not simply record events. They defended incompatible self-images. The more each demanded recognition, the less capable either became of giving it. The point is not to assign a diagnosis across history. It is to see a pattern familiar in ordinary relationships. Two people can be genuinely wounded and still become so absorbed in having that wound acknowledged that they lose the ability to perceive each other. Pain does not automatically create empathy. Sometimes pain consumes the attention empathy requires. At 3:40 that afternoon, Maya received a message from June's school portal. Parents were invited to Friday's district solo competition. Maya walked into the kitchen that evening, with the date already blocked on her calendar. "I saw the competition notice," she said. "I will be there." I moved the investor review. June continued drawing. "I'm not doing it." "What do you mean?" "You got the solo." "I told Miss Howard I didn't want it." Maya sat across from her. "Because I missed the audition?" June shrugged. "You don't have to make a point. I said I would be there." Daniel, washing dishes behind them, became still. Maya heard herself too late. She had turned June's decision into an accusation against Maya. Then she had defended herself against the accusation June had not made. Deep narcissism does not always look like vanity. It can look like chronic victimhood. It can look like the person who hears every boundary as rejection, every disagreement as disrespect, every mood as commentary on them. It can also look like endless caretaking when the caretaker needs to be indispensable. The common feature is not loudness. It is gravitational pull. Everything returns to the self. Greene asks us to move toward healthy narcissism, a stable relationship with ourselves that does not depend on extracting constant reassurance from others. The healthier the self-love, the less threatening another person's separate reality becomes. Maya looked at June's drawing. A dark stage, a small figure in the middle, an empty chair outlined in white. She felt the urge to explain the clinic emergency. She felt the urge to promise a new audition, a special weekend, a bigger memory to replace the one she had missed. Instead, she asked, When did you decide not to do the competition? Yesterday. What were you afraid would happen? June pressed a blue pencil into the paper. That you'd come this time and make it a big thing. Then I'd have to act happy so you wouldn't feel bad. Maya had missed one performance. June had been preparing for another. The emotional cost was not simply an empty chair. It was that her daughter had learned to manage Maya's feelings while hiding her own. This is where empathy becomes more than kindness. It is accurate attention. Not agreement, not surrender, not assuming every interpretation is correct. You can understand a person's emotional logic and still set a boundary. You can see the childhood beneath someone's control and still refuse the control. Greene warns that deep narcissists can use others as extensions of themselves. Empathy helps you recognize that danger. It does not require you to remain available to it. But with people we love, the first failure is often simpler. We do not leave enough silence for them to exist. You cannot enter another person's world while defending the border of your own. Maya told June, "You don't have to take the solo to make me feel better, and you don't have to decide tonight. I want to understand what singing felt like before my empty chair became part of it." June studied her face, searching for the hidden request. Then she said, "It felt like flying. Until I looked." Maya did not say anything for several seconds. That silence was the first honest gift she had brought home all week. The next day, Maya called her father about the 2 unanswered calls from launch week. "What did you need?" she asked. "Nothing now." The old Maya would have accepted the words because they removed an obligation. The newer Maya noticed the speed of the answer and the way Victor immediately asked about her work. "What did you need then?" Victor admitted that he had become dizzy in the grocery store. It passed. He did not want to distract her during the launch. Maya's fear moved quickly toward control doctor, tests, keys, schedule. She almost began issuing instructions. Then she asked what being dizzy had meant to him. "It meant I am becoming a problem people schedule," he said. That answer did not remove the need for medical attention. It changed how Maya could approach it. Analytic empathy was not building a psychological theory about her father. It was connecting the present refusal to a history in which dignity meant self-reliance. They agreed on an appointment he would choose, and Maya would attend if invited. This distinction matters. Empathy should increase accuracy, not fantasy. You do not feel your way into certainty about another person. You test understanding by asking. You remain alert to patterns. You allow correction. And you remember that understanding does not obligate unlimited access. A deep narcissist may use vulnerability to pull attention back, punish independence, or make every boundary feel cruel. In those cases, empathy clarifies the pattern so that you can create distance without needing to dehumanize the person. Healthy empathy has 2 directions: outward enough to perceive another life, inward enough to protect your own. The practice for today is called the 2-minute outward turn. Choose one conversation with someone you think you already understand. For 2 minutes, do not offer your version, your advice, or a similar story from your own life. Ask one question. Listen for the feeling beneath the facts, then reflect back what their experience means to them. You can begin with, "Tell me more about the part that stayed with you." Then, "It sounds like the hardest part was." Do not use the reflection as a trick before returning to your argument. Let it be the destination. Empathy does not mean disappearing. It means becoming secure enough that another person's reality does not erase you. I'm Sarah, and this is Wise Mind Stories. If you know what it is like to be heard only after making your pain easier for someone else, subscribe and stay with Maya's story. Her conversation with Lena has reopened a door. But the next person walking through Lumen's doors will know exactly how to make people feel seen. He will remember names, mirror moods, ask brilliant questions, and almost everyone will mistake his social skill for character.